For example, when I pop up the list right here, the first name I see is Josh Palmer at the very, very top. Now, Josh Palmer is a wide receiver for the Los Angeles Chargers, and there's a lot of question marks about who's going to be the wide receiver 1, who's going to be the wide receiver 2, and it very well could be their rookie, Ladd McConkey, but it also could be Josh Palmer, who's the longest tenured Charger with the team. It's very possible that by the end of the year, Josh Palmer ends up being the team's wide receiver 1. On Underdog, which again, that's where a lot of sharp fantasy football players play and where they've been doing drafts for months now, Josh Palmer usually gets drafted around pick 102 overall. Okay, so we're talking about 9th round-ish type of value. But on ESPN, the very same player, Josh Palmer, gets drafted around pick 167. That is a 65 pick difference between ESPN and Underdog. That's about a 5-6 round difference when you're considering Josh Palmer in Underdog versus where you're considering him on a more casual site like in ESPN. So that's the idea. That's the idea of today's conversation. We're going to talk about some of the names that popped up on all 3 lists, on ESPN's list, Sleeper's list, and Yahoo's list. Meaning, the whole point of this episode is that the general public, in general, is much too low on these guys, and they might come at a very nice discount for you in your league if you play on one of those platforms, or frankly, even if you don't. If you want access to the full list, there is a gigantic list on Yahoo, there's a gigantic list for Sleeper, and there's a gigantic list for ESPN. If you want access to that full list, simply A, join our fantasy football Discord server, or B, just send me an email using the link that we left for you in the show notes below, and I'll be glad to share it with you for free. We have our Discord server, which is an online community. It's an online army of 175 plus other fantasy football players helping each other dominate the fantasy football season. It's also where I spend 100% of my time hanging out 24/7, 365. It's where I share exclusive insights, golden fantasy football nuggets, the very, very second I find them. So if you want to come hang out with me, come hang out with us, all you got to do is go over to Basement Brewed Fantasy Football's Patreon channel, which will leave a link for you in the show notes below.